let's look at these two phrases. The kits are here. The kids are here. How do we link and connect and use these plural nouns naturally and fluently when we're speaking? Let's talk about this topic today. Welcome everyone. Feel free to put your questions in the chat or the comments at any time, and we'll start with this topic of plural nouns and how to say them fluently. So in the phrase, the kits are here, the words kits and here are going to be important words. They're going to get some stress, some more length, and the other words are going to go more quickly and be more reduced. And as I have the word kits, this letter S is going to say the S sound. The rule for plurals is that when I add the letter S to a voiceless sound, so that'd be like a T, a P, a K, etc., the S will say the S, it will be voiceless. When we get to kids, this one is going to say the Z sound because we're adding the S to a voiced consonant sound, the D sound. Well, you can see more about plurals in my video for that. We'll talk more about it as we move to this next sentence. But as I say, the kits are here, you'll hear that S linking to the next word are. The kits are here. The word the, very short and reduced. Make sure you use a schwa here, the kits are here. Then my R tends to get a little bit reduced to more of an sound when it's not stressed. So if I say they are, I'm going to use the true R sound. The kits are here. It's going to end up sounding more like the kits are here. So here longer, R shortened to and the quite short. The kits are here. So come on over, the kits are here. Versus the kids are here. The kids are here. My kids, because I have that voice D sound, not only do I have the Z there, kids are here, the kids are here, my I vowel before the D is going to be a little bit longer in kid than it is in kit. The kids are here. So you will hear that D sound, kids are here. And this is a great way to be able to make sure that you're pronouncing the word kids, that plural, correctly. If you have trouble with plural sounds dropping off, kids are here, you can think about the word are, that the Z can just jump to the next word. So kids are, that tends to be easier than thinking of it as kids are. Kids are. Z is hard to say, but if I say kids are here, my Z really connects to the next sound and makes it easier to say my plural correctly. So these are some examples for a voiceless S and a voiced Z linking to a vowel. What about if I have to link my voiced Z to a consonant sound? So here it's natural and easy to put the Z on the R, kids are. But if I had to say, for example, the kids went there, I still need to be able to say that voiced Z sound, even though my next sound is a consonant, as in went. The kids went there. The kids went there last night. So I still have kids with a Z, but I have to move right to my w sound. Kids w. So I'm still linking and connecting. The kids went there last night. Depending on my sentence, the kids went there. The kids went there. In this case, I'm more likely to be putting emphasis on the went. Kids went there. There is going to be less important versus when I have that, this is more of an active verb, that passive verb or that helping verb are makes here more important. So the kids went there. The kids went there. I'm going to have a little more length on went. Kids went. So those types of combinations, if you find it difficult, for example, to link from a Z sound to a TH sound, that's definitely one that people ask me about and mention that's difficult for them. You want to just practice in a lot of contexts. So for example, you could try the kids that, the kids there, the kids then, the kids went. So you're doing lots of different combinations of moving from your plural to a different consonant sound. And if you set yourself up with kind of a repeated practice, a blank there that you have to fill in, it's a great way to discover which things are more difficult for you and which things are easier. That's the type of practice we do in our podcast videos here on the channel, and I highly recommend that. You can check out my linking videos and fluent speaking videos podcasts to help you with lots of different practice and context to get these patterns to be stronger. Okay, let's look at one more example of a plural linking. So we're going to go from a Z to a K in the phrase, their needs can be addressed. So their needs can. Again, here, can, like are, is not the important part of the phrase. So needs is going to be our main subject, and addressed is going to be our main predicate. Needs addressed. So if I were only able to say 2 words out of this phrase, and I wanted to convey the meaning, those 2 would be the most important. So then, therefore, the there and can be are going to be shorter and more reduced, which affects the rhythm and how we link this phrase. So their needs is going to have the z sound again because the s is following a voice sound. The word can reduces down just to a can here. If it were the only verb, I can, you can, I use the true a sound. As a helping verb, can be, I tend to just use the n sound, can be addressed. Their needs can be addressed, stressing on the dressed syllable. Again, I can't really, the only way I link here, I'm just moving from the z to the can, needs can be addressed. As I move between be and addressed, be addressed, I have a little bit of vowel to vowel linking there. So I'm going to be connecting from the high front E to the of addressed, be addressed. You can think about it like their needs can be addressed, because my main stress in dressed is here on that second syllable. Letter A just says the sound. This word there, same, it has the air diphthong, same as in our first word. I think the kids went there, same pronunciation. Okay, so this was a request from one of our viewers looking at how to link plural nouns. For more help with plurals and linking in general, as I mentioned, you can check out our videos for that. Let me know in the comments or in the chat what you'd like to talk about today, your questions, anything that you'd like me to follow up with. And it's so great to be back here with our Saturday live class. Thank you for your patience as I was traveling 2 weeks ago, and then last week I got quite ill and was unable to hold class. So it's great to be back and to see you all here. Welcome. We have a question about how to pronounce bother. So let's look at that word bother. So bother is a little bit confusing to people because we do have the word both that has the O sound. But in bother, we have the ah sound, like father. So the IPA, you're going to see this symbol for that ah, and it has first syllable stress. So no rounding. I don't want any O or ah sound there. Think about it like ba. There. So I often say to help people remember, don't bother your father. You want the vowels to be exactly the same. Those are an exact rhyme. Same ah plus there sounds. So don't bother with that, or don't bother your father. Yeah, that's a good word. Thank you for bringing that up, and nice to see you again here this week. You also asked about the word vulnerable. This is one that I often hear native speakers mispronounce as well. So because it has the vulner, it has the ul and the ner and the n sound together. And I think that people sometimes they leave that L out and they just say vulnerable, and that's not actually correct. So you want to make sure that you're using the ul, that dark L, that your tongue is lifting for the ul before it closes off entirely for the n sound. Vulner. So I like to just break it apart. We have first syllable stress. So we start with vul, ner, bull. And then it's also a bit challenging here with vulnerable, bull. We just go right from the b to that dark L, bull. So you're just kind of having not much vowel there. They were vulnerable in the field. He was vulnerable with his emotions. Yeah, so I do have some videos for this, or at least one video for this on the channel, but I would say just breaking it down syllable by syllable and then trying to smooth it out and link it together should help you to pronounce that one correctly. Yeah, thank you for that. Good word, difficult one. Okay, welcome Undead Heart. Nice to see you here this morning. We have a question about the word dance, that the T sound is hidden. Black cat and NTS. So yes, in the word dance, what I would say is that it's more that if I have, for example, the word ants, like there are several ants on the ground, or my aunts are my mother's sisters, that in ants, we don't really do a strong t. So I have one ant and two ants, that there's no release of that T. It just releases right into the S. So this is actually what you've mentioned before or asked about before, I believe, is rule of three, where it's just going to sound like ants, where there's actually not going to be a T sound there. So when we're talking about dance, the IPA really is dance. But you don't want a long protracted end there. I don't want dans, because that would be like this word, like the name Dan. That has the Z sound. So I think the reason they're telling you to think of it as having a T sound is because you need to make the N nice and short, like you would if there were a T there. So it's kind of a reverse engineering from the rule of three, that when we have an N plus an S at the end, that combination, the N is very short. We really don't do dance. But it's the same as how we would say it if there were a T there. So I'm not sure like what advice I would give on whether or not it's correct. You won't see that in the dictionary in the IPA. They're not going to put a T there, but it does ends up functioning the same as if there were an NTS. Whereas this one, an N and S like that, like if I say tans, he tans very easily. Then we have the Z sound, and my N is longer. He tans, I dance. So it's very short on the N sound. Not exactly sure what the linguistics are behind that rule, but they probably are just representing it with the T to show you that those are the same. Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you for being here and for bringing that up. It's nice to see you. Okay, welcome everyone. Do feel free to put your questions in the chat. We can talk about pronunciation, we can talk about fluent speaking, whatever's on your mind today. I'm happy to cover and answer for you. Okay, so we have a question or a comment about the word behalf, like on behalf of. Yeah, okay, so yes, the word half and behalf, there's the L is silent in both of those words. Yeah, that's a good point to make up. So we have the silent L in the word half. We also have it in words like talk and walk. It is silent, but the L will sometimes affect how what is happening for the vowel sound. So if we didn't have the L there, for example, this word, tack, has the A vowel like in cat. Talk has the A vowel. So I'm not saying talk, I'm not closing for that L, but because of that spelling, we do have that A sound here. Half, again, doesn't have that same pattern. It does have the ah sound, so it's not like the presence of the L makes this vowel happen in all cases. But for any of these words, I think having a way to visualize it, so if I would say I visualize half kind of like that with two F's, because that's how we would spell, for example, the word staff that has the same combination of ah and f. So a lot of times you'll see me rewriting words and respelling them. I usually try to hone into common patterns for spelling that can't be interpreted more than one way. I also will use IPA symbols so that you know exactly what sounds to be saying. But that's something that we do in our videos here on the channel and in our online courses. Our Sounds of English course will walk you through the IPA, the symbols and the sounds so that you can say things naturally and fluently and understand the pronunciation. It's most important to just have a way to visualize it so that you're saying it correctly, so you know what the sounds should be. And then, of course, we have the regular spelling. But oftentimes the way something is spelled can create a pronunciation error when really the sounds aren't so difficult. Okay, great. We have a question about hedonist, hedonism, and hedonistic. Thank you for bringing that up and for your gift last week. I was planning on bringing that up in today's class, so I'm glad you're here to hear it live. So we have the word hedonist, first of all. Capital H. So we have first syllable stress. Letter E says the E sound. So we have he. Now letter O is unstressed in the unstressed syllable, so it's going to be a schwa sound. And then we have ist. So I would rewrite that as he donist. So he was a hedonist. And then when we get to hedonism, or let's go to hedonistic, the syllable pattern stress changes. So becomes, still stays he, duh, but now we're stressing on nis and adding tic. So hedonist and hedonistic. And then when we move to hedonism, we have our main change is we're going back to first syllable stress, but our letter S is going to be a Z sound now because we have the ism ending. So that sounds like he, da, nism. And for this ism at the end, we're basically, there's almost no vowel there. It's going right to zum. I'm just moving from the z and closing to the very little vowel. If anything's there, it's a tiny little schwa sound. So hedonism. He's a hedonist. He participates in hedonistic rituals, and his religion is hedonism, or his culture. Thank you so much for the gift this week as well. I really appreciate your support. It's nice to see you here week after week, and please feel free to ask if you have other words that you'd like me to cover today as well. I hope that covered those three for you, and you can use those in the way you need to. Thank you for being here. Okay. Let's see. We have a question about the sentence, this item is on sale. So you have two is's there, but so I'm thinking you want the sentence, this item is on sale. And let's look at the intonation there. So you could also have this is the item that is on sale, but you can correct your sentence for me if you want it a different way. So if I'm saying this item is on sale, the meaning here is basically saying this is being offered for a sale price or a cheaper price. So this item is on sale. This is one case where this is going to have a little bit more stress and importance than it normally would, because we're kind of calling out a particular item. If I just had an item for sale, then item would be the important word. But because I'm saying this item, then this gets the stress here. And then we have on sale. Sale is our primary stress at the end. So the rhythm, this item is on sale. This item is on sale. Item is going to have a little bit more weight because it's a content word. Is on is going to be unimportant. So it's going to sound like this item is on sale. If I wrote that out in terms of where the length goes, it would be kind of this item is on sale. So this item is on sale. This item is on sale. Yeah, that's a good example of how the meaning changes where we're stressing a little bit, where that length happens, and how we link things together. Hopefully that clears that up for you. And if you had a different sentence in mind, or if that's not helpful, let me know and I can adjust and give you a little bit more help for that. Thank you so much for being here, and it's nice to see you. And I'm grateful for your channel membership. I appreciate you supporting the channel in that way. Okay, we have a question about the word syllabus, as in there are syllabus goals to meet. So let's break down syllabus. So similar to the word syllable, but syllabus, very different meaning. But in both words, we have first syllable stress with the letter Y saying the I sound. So letter A is going to be unstressed, so it'll be a schwa here, syllabus. And then again, another schwa for this. I would say sometimes even people pronounce that with a little bit higher I vowel, syllabus, bus, syllabus. Mostly what's important there is that vowel is very reduced. So you don't want any kind of length or clarity on it. So thinking about long on syll, and then very short and quick on bus, or bis, syllabus. So your sentence was, there are syllabus goals to meet. Syllabus. Yeah, that's a good word. Thank you. That might be helpful for some of our teachers and professors who are watching today. Great. Let's see. So it's nice to see so many of you here. Welcome back after having missed some time. We do have some new videos coming up next week. I'm going to be talking about, I believe the next video is going to be about intonation again, looking at what we talked about this week, the hidden meaning, the rhythm and stress of words. And also we may be having a new podcast video. So those videos, as I mentioned earlier, are often designed to help you practice a certain concept or idea at a more advanced level where you're listening and repeating. And they're really good for on the go. So you can watch and look. There are visuals to help you, but you can also just listen. You could do it while you're driving, taking a walk, cleaning the house. It's a way to get a little bit of practice in, build in some motor repetition so those new patterns become easier for you to say. So check that out here on our podcast playlist for fluent speaking. Great. Okay, let me just go to my recent requests list. If you have more requests, please feel free to put them in the comments if you're watching this later on, or in the chat if you're here live with me. I'm going to look at some comments that came in recently for some of the requests that we had. So one of our channel members recently requested the word ambiguity. So let's take a look at that. So we have ambiguity. So in ambiguity, we have stress on the gu syllable, and this is an example where letter U has the y and the u sound, like in music or few. So we have letter A says the a, unstressed but still a clear vowel. The letter I is a short reduced I sound. Then there's my stress on gu. So we have a g, y, and an oo. As I move from gue to the I sound, you won't see it in the dictionary, but there's a little vowel to vowel linking there from the rounded oo to the I. So oo, gue. And then we'll flap that T. Sounds like a light D sound. So if I were to rewrite that, I would write it as ambiguity. There needs to be no ambiguity about how to pronounce the word ambiguity. So yeah, the challenges here come in the guity, and just knowing what those different vowel letters should say in that word. So thank you for being a channel member and for that request. Channel members, I try to expedite your requests and cover them in our live class or in a video specifically for your word. Great. Okay. We have a question about the word failure. So in failure, we also have the y sound before that letter U. We have first syllable stress, letters A-I, say the A diphthong. So we have failure. Not really an oo here, not failure, but just failure. For the fail, you can think about it like fail, almost like two syllables. It doesn't have to be that drawn out, not failure. But if you're struggling with fail, that you might find it easier to kind of think about how that A to the ul has a little bit of a y sound connecting as well. Failure. So I would write that like failure. I hope it's not a failure in the long run. Great. Okay, we have a question about tenure, also with the yer at the end, also on the theme of syllabus and academia. So tenure starts just like the word ten with the red tent vowel, first syllable stress, and then we have the yer ending as well. So tenure. She's working towards tenure. Now that she has tenure, there's less pressure on her to publish. Very good. Okay. Nice to see so many of you here this morning. I'm really enjoying reconnecting with you and hearing your requests, being able to cover those. Let's take a look at a pair of words, the words hassle versus hustle. So how do we pronounce hassle and hustle? Looking at hassle, we have the a black cat vowel, first syllable stress. And then we move from this right into that dark ul, that syllabic L, soul, hassle. So I would write that like ha, soul, or you can think about it like having a very small schwa there, soul, hassle, versus hustle. Same pattern, but we have the stressed schwa, the sound in our stressed syllable. So that would be hustle. So hassle and hustle. When you're looking at minimal pairs like this, when only one sound is different between the two, especially when it's vowels that are the difference, it can be very helpful to use other words to get those vowels more established. So, for example, you might say, that's a hassle. Both have the black cat vowel, versus some hustle. Both have the schwa, the stressed schwa vowel. Because between that and some, you are not going to have much trouble distinguishing those vowels. Between hassle and hustle might be harder for you to hear that difference. So using that hassle, matching those two, and some hustle, matching those two, should be helpful for that. Yeah, that was another request that came in a comment recently. Okay, we have a question about the word familiar. And yes, so familiar. So we have family, but in familiar, we change to stressing on the mill. And so it's the letter A in the beginning. It's going to be the unstressed schwa, fa. First syllable, me. stressed on this I sound, familiar. So it is really an ear, but we just do it more like a y, familiar. So thinking of that as the y sound. So I would rewrite that as familiar. So I'm familiar with the pattern you're describing. He's not familiar with the text. How familiar are you with that process? Yeah, so different, as I mentioned, than family. We have first syllable stress and the clear a vowel, family. And that one you want to have kind of more of an a sound, like in fat or cat, family, or family. I kind of like using a schwa here, family, because sometimes when people are trying to do family, they end up with too much family, like that I vowel gets too tense or too stressed. Also family. When I really want to reduce on this syllable here, almost all the way down to just family. I think that's the most common error I hear here, where that people will spend too long, family, instead of just family. So it can almost be 2 syllables rather than 3. Yeah, thank you. Familiar and family, common everyday words that can be difficult, and people do make errors on those. Thanks for bringing that up. Okay. Great. Nice to hear your updates on Dead Heart. Thank you for sharing. Okay, let's take a look at some other requests that came in recently. We had a request for the word abandoned. So let's take a look at that. Abandoned. Let's look at how to pronounce abandoned. We have second syllable stress. So my first letter A is going to be the unstressed schwa. The A in the stressed syllable is the a, like in bad, and then we have this letter O also is a schwa, abandoned. When we add ed at the end to make something past tense, if we're adding it to a voice sound, we just make the D sound, abandoned. So not abandoned, but just abandoned. So that looks like abandoned. I'll write it with a U for the schwa. The kitten was abandoned by its mother. We abandoned the project after it was showing to be unsuccessful. Good word. Abandon by itself, and then abandoned just adds that D for the past tense. Great. Okay. I do have a video for your request for Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Rather than writing all that out here in class, I'll put a link for that for you after class. What I like about that word is it has a good pattern. So it's actually not something that people say very often, but it's useful to learn about how to break down longer words like that. And the pattern in that word is supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. It really has an every other stress pattern, because it is a made-up word with different parts stuck together. But that I would say would be the usefulness of it. So yes, after class I can put a link to that in the description for this video. You can also always find anything you're looking for on my channel. If you go to our channel page, there's a menu across the top with videos, playlists, etc. And there's a search box right there on the channel. You can type in your word or part of your word, and any videos I have around that topic or around that word will pop up for you. So that's another suggestion that I have. So thank you for that. People definitely want to know how to be able to say that long word. Okay, we have a question about the word leverage. So technically I can say leverage, but here's another place where we tend to reduce. So often when we have an in the middle that's unstressed, it becomes just an R sound. So rather than, you can say it as leverage, but often we just reduce this down to just leverage. Same thing with beverage. Beverage. I don't want to have too much length on this. It can be there as long as it's short. Leverage. But it's almost gone. There's almost no schwa there before that R. Just going right to leverage, 2 syllables. So they had leverage in the project. We need to get some leverage here. Good word. Thank you. Nice to see you, and thank you for your many requests and for being here week after week. It's wonderful. Okay, we have a question about the word bulge. This is a funny word. Bulge. So looking at bulge, this is kind of a bit of a challenge in that we have the same, the sound, so this combination of UL is the same thing we would have in a word like gull or dull. Sometimes when we have UL, pull, we have the sound. So push and pull have that same vowel, but in these words, we have a schwa. So even though we have a word bull with the sound, in bulge, it's more of an sound. Same thing we would have in a word like button or bust. So just to give you a frame of reference for that sound. So for bulge, we have the j at the end. So 1 syllable. I wouldn't really write it very differently, except for maybe you could put this for the j, how we spelled the j sound, the j sound at the beginning of words. So really working on kind of starting with the sound and adding your L. Bull, bulge is how I'd work on that. Or use another word that has b at the beginning to help you get that bull part. A little bit difficult to revisualize any different way, but hopefully that breakdown of the sounds will help you with that word bulge. Okay, great. We have a question about how to pronounce disability and department. So let's look at disability first. So disability, it's the same as how I pronounce ability with stress on the bill syllable. So we would have disability. We tend to flap that T, so it sounds more like a D. So thinking about it like disability. So the disability, you might want to just start on the stress syllable ability, disability. That tends to help you get the rhythm and the clear vowels as needed. And then for the word department, what's happening here is we're doing different things for these T's as we go. So I have stress on the part syllable, depart, but I'm not really letting that T out or this T, department. So when we have MENT or ANCE right after a T in the middle, we tend to just use an unreleased T there. Depart, I go up to make the T, depart, and then I just release into the M, department. So it sounds like I'll put that T in parentheses because I don't let it out, and then ment. So the department, the disability department. Two kind of challenging words and maybe a little bit hard to put together if you have to use them in the same phrase. Thank you for that request, and thank you for being here. Okay. Follow up on hedonist. How do you pronounce the plural? Yes, so they're hedonists. So we just add another S, which is actually not that easy. So hedonist, you can hear I have the S and T. When I have words that end with STS, hedonists, I basically have the S sound and then a sharp S where that T turns into an S. Hedonists, hedonists. Same thing happens in words like tests or guests. And I did just recently do a video with some STS tongue twisters and practice. That might help you with hedonists if that's giving you trouble. Just go slowly, and I would say do is, ist, ists, and then that can help you break down that plural. Just kind of going back to our beginning theme, it's an S sound because the T is voiceless. If I had a word like bids or kids from the D, then we would have a Z sound for that letter S. Okay, we'll take a few more questions and then we'll wrap up for today. It's nice to see you back here this morning, and welcome back. We should be having regular Saturday classes for a while again, and then I'll always let you know if for some reason we have to postpone for a week. I appreciate your patience as I was out, but I do really enjoy these classes. It helps me know what to cover on the channel, what questions you have, and what's coming up for you recently. So go ahead and put your next question in, and I'll answer it for you. We have a question about the word teeter, as in teeter-totter, or it's teetering over the edge. So in the word teeter, letters EE most often say the E vowel. And then for words ending in TER, we tend to use a flap T there. So it sounds like teeter. Nice light flap sound. Not a strong D, just a flap, teeter. He's teetering at the edge. Okay. We have a question. It's saying that it's hard to pronounce from working in a sentence, especially in an American accent. So you're talking about that combination of from working. So let's look at that. I'm tired from working, for example. So what you might be finding difficult here, besides just the basics of what sounds are in these words, is maybe moving from the closed to the w, from working. I believe we may have chatted about this in a comment on another video. But basically what you want to do is close to the and then think of your working as starting with the mouth almost closed. So when I say work, my lips are very pursed. They're almost closed. And I can start from the were. I just have to bring, my lips are flat here and then they're going to round as I do the were. So the w sound basically moves from an oo to an So thinking about it like ooh, ooh. So to get that ooh shape, my lips need to stick out. So from working. So I did it with a pause to do the were, but you can just do more. So that you're going to have a little bit of a connecting between those two. For everyone else, we have the sound from working. And our stress in that phrase is going to be on the were of working. Note that letters OR and working have the sound. Yeah, very good. I hope that helped to see my mouth doing those shapes. And yes, that can be a little bit tough. So hopefully that clears it up for you. Okay. Yes, so for words with STS, we can't really apply the rule of 3 here because it would just sound like one S sound. So if I'm saying the word tests, I have to do st, or it would just sound like tests. So the S has to stop. The rule of 3 in a way applies a little bit because my T is not released. So these two just sounds kind of like one sound in that it's like in between a T and an S. It has the burst like a T, but then it continues like an S. So tests, hedonists. can be really helpful. Sorry about that noise. Okay, so yes, thank you so much for being a part of class today, for your great questions. It's nice to see so many of you back again week after week. We'll have another new video coming out on Tuesday, and then we'll be back for live class again next Saturday. I enjoyed working with you. Thanks so much for your questions and comments, and I look forward to seeing you on Tuesday and next week in live class. I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com. Remember, if you want to sound like a native speaker, you can do it. speechmodification.com. Bye, everyone. I look forward to seeing you again soon.